I'm Brian Lawrence from Bancroft, Ontario. I've been doing chainsaw training for over 30 years and I'm pretty passionate about it. Over the years, I've developed what I call the craft techniques, C-R-A-F-T. That stands for controlled release accurate felling techniques. And I have different techniques for different problems. And so today we want to describe the seven-step technique where we're going to use a wedge. I like to go into the bush with a driving tool, a hammer, and at least 3 wedges, 1 aluminum and 2 plastic, which I'll use shortly. Before I start, I've got my PPE, I've got my hard hat, got my screen, hearing protection, hand protection. These are actual chainsaw gloves. As you can see, they have the insignia on them. I've got chaps with both front of the leg and calf protection, and I've got a pair of chainsaw boots. So this is my steel saw that I really like. It's got a special feature. The throttle safety latch has been beefed up, and it is attached by cable to the brake. That was an option when I bought this saw back several years ago, but apparently not available anymore. But just a great feature if you can find one. This saw has a decompression button, so I'll push that. I'll squeeze the throttle, put the choke to the bottom position. To start the saw, the yo-yo or drop start is illegal. So we either put the saw on the ground or leg lock, and leg lock is my preferred method, so I'll use that. So normally with a normal saw, it takes that long for the saw to change to come to a stop. With this saw, the saw comes to a quick stop with that feature. It's really lovely. So now I'm going to make a notch. I'm going to use this sight line to aim at the target. I want to drop this tree. It does have a bit of a lean to it. I've already delimbed it because I didn't want the tree to get caught up in other limbs, but I'll treat it as I would in the other tree. So I'm going to make a notch. I like the V-notch. We're running them down on an angle at 45 degrees. And I'm going to come up at 45 to make a V-notch. So that's is making a notch. Say my preferred notch is the V-notch with an angle cut like so on a 45-degree angle and then coming up on about 45. The notch should be between 1/4 and 1/3 of the tree's diameter. I like to go about 1/4. That gives me lots of wood to play with, especially on a smaller tree. The technique I'm going to use now is I'm going to bore this tree. I'll use the bottom of the bar. I'll make a pocket, then I'll swing the saw around and I'll shove it right through the tree. The saws, most saws now come with this notching line, and some also have what we call the boring line. It's been added recently. This saw didn't have one, so I added one manually with a Sharpie. So when I go to bore, I'll be about 1 inch above the notch. I'll start with the bottom of the bar, I'll swing it around, then shove it through. When I come through, I'll do a tip check to see where I am on the other side. Then I'll creep forward towards the notch, and I want to leave a hinge about 1/10 of the tree's diameter. That'll establish the hinge. That's the most critical part. That's what guides the tree as it falls. Once I've established the hinge, I'll make a back cut part way, or bore cut back towards the back, but I won't cut all the way. I'm going to leave some holding wood, and I'll cut half of that holding wood and drive in a wedge, and do corner cuts to prevent what we call side scarring. And then once I have that all done, I will stop and set the saw down and set it off, because that will be what I call coffee time. There are 3 things we want to do before we drop that tree. Number 1, make sure nobody's come into our felling area. Number 2, make sure we're happy with an escape route. And number 3, make sure we have enough fuel to finish. Okay, so now we'll proceed with that. My screen down, but I do have safety glasses on, so I'm good. So now I made the notch, I did the bore, I established the hinge, I came back, left the tab, I cut half of the tab on the far side, put the wedge in there, so that when I go to release this half tab, the tree may fall on its own. If not, I'll give it a tap with the hammer. I did those corner cuts because the sapwood tends to be the strongest part of the tree. And whereas the heartwood will break, sometimes the sapwood will tear because it's tough. And what happens then is that the side scar can happen, and that can downgrade your log, and it could also change the direction of the tree as it falls. So now it's coffee time. Obviously we're on a side hill. There's no worry about anybody coming into the danger zone. We're happy with the escape route. We're here on the lawn. We're not going over the bank. And it takes very little fuel to finish that final cut. So that shouldn't be a problem. So I'll cut the last part of the tab, and if the tree doesn't fall, I will tap the wedge. I like to go into the bush with 3 wedges. My personal preference for wedge are the aluminum wedge. They're softer than the chain, so they don't wreck the chain. But then I like to take 2 plastic. If that wedge doesn't lift the tree enough, I can double up. Now these can kick out, and the reason I'm not fussy about plastic, especially in the winter, is that they will kick out and it'll also break. I have a buddy that's got a scar on his chin from a wedge that came back. So he doesn't like plastic wedges, particularly in the winter. So once I cut the tab, I'll drive that wedge, and if that doesn't make the tree fall, then I will add more wedges. So now we're going to look at the stump. So I like to break the stump into 4 components. We have the notch, we have the hinge, we have the bore, and we have a tab. The notch should be 1/4 to 1/3 of the tree's diameter. So if we look at that, normally I would pick up the block of the wedge of wood and put it back so where it came from. So there's 1 width and 2 and 3 and 4. So we're about the 1/4. A hinge should be about 1/10 of the tree's diameter. I went a little light on the hinge because that tree had no top, no weight at the top to help pull it over. And that's why you saw when we started or finished the tab that the tree hesitated because it didn't have really any significant top weight. So we went a little thin, but we still have a hinge. We have a step. We want a step in the between the bore and the notch. And the reason for that is if that tree hits another tree as it falls, it could slide off the stump if the bore or the back cut is level with the notch. So we have that step to keep it from sliding back. The bore was through the middle of the tree. I did several tip checks to make sure that we had a nice parallel hinge to guide that tree as it falls. Then I came back and left the tab. Then I cut half of this side of the tab off, and that's when I put in the aluminum wedge and drove it in, then cut the rest of the tab. It didn't actually fall at that point, so I added the other wedge on this side. So another successful tree felling.